Hey, welcome to the CPA review class. This is going to be the same video for all four sections. I just wanted to take a few minutes and just kind of walk through how the class is set up, why it's set up that way, and then kind of a few tips on how to be successful in the class and in the exam. So first of all, we have pulled up the class in Canvas. And so you'll first see the course documents, and so the first is the syllabus. That's going to be our traditional boilerplate stuff. The next is the course information, which is kind of a supplement to the syllabus. And so what that is going to give us is, if you go in and open that up, we'll have link to gleim.com, so that the main content of the class is going to be through Gleim CPA review. So we have the link there, and then also the link specifically, if you haven't purchased your section yet, you can go to this link here to buy it. If you have purchased it and are having trouble getting logged in, just let me know, and I'll contact Gleim, and we'll make sure that you're set up in the class correctly. So the way the class is structured here, you'll see what assignments we have, and so we're going to have weekly devotionals, which most of you are going to be used to. We have study units, and so the study units are going to be completed in Gleim, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on that later on what that looks like. The key thing is that's the biggest chunk of the grade at 60%. That's going to consist of reading the books, watching the videos, and doing multiple choice questions. So to get full credit, we're going to have these adaptive quizzes. You're going to have to get 60% on at least 2 of the quizzes plus 50% on a simulation. And so you have to get all of that in order to get credit for that study unit. Like I said, I'll go in that a little more detail in that in just a second. The next is going to be instructor-led quizzes. So we're going to have quizzes under the study units, but we're also going to have instructor-led quizzes, which I'll show you where those are. And those are just going to be 1 20-question quiz per week. We also, at the very end of the class, we're going to have the exam rehearsal. So that's going to give you a full mock exam. You're going to sit down for 3-4 hours. Well, I guess it's going to be 4 hours now, and just pound through an exam. It'll be really nice for you to get the feel of what taking the exam is going to look like. And then, again, like many of you are used to, we're going to have the review and assessments each week. And I really encourage you guys to take time, fill that out. That's great input for me to understand how you're doing and how I can make the class better and more valuable to you. So then going back to Canvas, it's going to be set up each week. You're going to see what you have to do. Each week is going to be pretty much the same. One thing I wanted to draw your attention to is the student-instructor meeting. So your very first assignment here, if you click on it, is essentially just to shoot me an email, and we're going to schedule a short phone call just to kind of talk about what your goals are for the class. Different people are going to have different goals, and that's going to affect kind of how we approach the class. So really, I just want to make sure that you guys get the most value for what you're trying to do. So if we can just have a short meeting, short phone call, that'll really help me set the class up for you, and I think it'll get a lot more beneficial to you, because every student is not going to have the same approach, the same goals, the same time frames. So next we have, kind of like we talked about earlier, we got our devotions, our study units, which are in Gleim, quizzes in Gleim, review and assessment. One thing I did want to point out, which is going to be different if you've taken any of these reviews prior, is before I've left all the assignments open till the end. So there's been a schedule to stick with. However, if it took you all the way to the last week to do everything, you didn't get penalized. Okay, that has changed. We now have hard deadlines. So for example, in week 1, the assignment is to cover study units 1, 2, and 3. So you'd have to complete that all in the first week. So it's due at the end of the first week. However, I am giving you 1 to 2 weeks afterwards, just in case you fall behind. I understand life happens and it's hard to keep up. But now you only have a 1 to 2 week cushion instead of the entire semester to get everything done. The reason it's set up that way is it's so important to stay on schedule with the review and with the exam. So there'll be a lot more of a focus on staying caught up on the class. So that's going to be really, really important. So that's kind of how Canvas is set up. So I'm going to kind of go into Gleim. And so like I mentioned before in our course information, we have our links into Gleim. And so if we go into Gleim, get logged in, you're going to get this screen right here where you're going to have a instructor-led area and then a course review area. So we're going to use both of these. And so the first, you're going to go to your the course, and it might say a little bit different since I've already gone in here. It's going to probably say like adaptive learning. And so what that's going to look like is when you go in, so each exam, no matter this happens to be reg, but all of them are going to have 20 study units. So when we talk about study units, these are our 20 study units that we're going to work through. So you're going to go in, click Start Unit. You're going to watch some videos. You're going to read the books. You're going to do some quizzes. And then you're going to start doing adaptive quizzes and adaptive simulations. And what that is it's as you go through when you're taking questions, it's going to identify, say, hey, okay, if you have one topic down really well, it's not going to give you as many questions, and it's going to let you focus on what you're having trouble with. So that's going to hopefully mean less multiple choice questions that you have to work through. So hopefully it's a more efficient way of going through the class. So each week you're going to have 3 study units to get through. And so, for example, week 1, you'll go through all the study unit. Make sure you have 2 adaptive quizzes above 60%. Make sure you have your simulation above 50% to get full credit. And then go on to Unit 2. And then Unit 3, and that'll be your week 1 assignment. Then at the very end of the week, you're going to go back to this screen here where it says Professor-Led Review. And so then we have weekly quizzes set up. So the first week quiz covering study units 1, 2, and 3. And so it's 20 questions timed. You have an hour, which is, 3-4 minutes. About 3 minutes per question, which should be plenty of time. The CPA exam gives you about 1.5 minutes per question. So anyway, that should be kind of the last thing you do in Gleim, and then the last thing you do for the week should be the weekly review and assessment. And so that's kind of how I guess there was the one last thing. It's the very end of the class. The very last week, you're going to go through and do your exam rehearsal, and that's going to be right here. And so that's the general kind of structure in the class, and kind of the why it's set up this way. So you're going to notice it's not going to be set up like a traditional class where you have lectures, you have regular assignments that you turn in, maybe cases, papers. It's not that. So this class is entirely geared to pass the CPA exam. And so that's going to feel a lot different because they've shown, and all the study review materials are set up this way, is it's multiple choice question heavy, like very, very multiple choice question heavy. The best way to pass the exam is just to do a ridiculous amount of multiple choice questions. It gets repetitive, it gets monotonous, it's hard, but it really is the best way to pass the exam. Reading, watching videos, that's great, but really the key to passing the CPA exam is 2 things. Tons and tons of multiple choice questions and staying on schedule no matter what. If you can do those two things, those are going to be the two biggest things you can do to be successful in passing the CPA exam. And so that's why this class is set up this way. Traditionally, each CPA exam, so FAR, Reg, BC, Audit, each one of them usually has around 1,000 unique multiple choice questions per unit or per test. And so usually what you want to do is you want to see those questions 2 to 3 times. So that's potentially 2,000 to 3,000 multiple choice questions, and that's a lot of multiple choice questions. The one good thing about GLIME is with the adaptive learning is so it should kind of weed that number down, so it's maybe not quite that many multiple choice questions. But it's still a lot of questions. And so in taking the CPA exam, you've probably heard a lot of horror stories on how hard it is, and it is. It is a hard exam. But at the end of the day, it's a multiple choice test, and it's very doable, and anyone can pass it. The key is really dedication and just setting the schedule and sticking to it every single day and just having discipline. So like when you're sitting down and doing this is not a class that you can go through and just, hey, I'm just going to jump in on Saturday afternoon or Sunday and just knock out all my homework and be done. The class is not gonna work that way. Since it's geared towards helping you pass the CPA exam, what that's going to take is usually you're looking probably to set aside 2 to 3 hours per day, 6 to 7 days a week. Depending on how fast you go through it, you might be able to do it on a little bit less, or sometimes it might take you just a little bit more. But for this class, be prepared to set aside, if you can, every at least an hour or two every single day to jump in and do this. If you're taking, if you're only looking at it 1-2 days a week, you might be able to get through the class, but it's going to make it really hard to get through the actual CPA exam itself. So the last thing I wanted to mention is going to the class unfortunately really does have a feel like a self-led course, just because you're going in there by yourself hitting tons and tons of multiple choice questions, but this is not a self-led course. So I'm here to help in any way I can. So I'm gonna do my best to reach out to you guys so we can talk through, see what we're having trouble with, see how I can help, whether that's with the material itself, with the exam, with advice, anything. So I just want you guys to know that I'm accessible, I'll try to reach out to you, but also I encourage you guys to reach out to me either through email, through phone call. If you're local, I'd be more than happy to sit down for coffee, to talk through this. The CPA exam it's really tough, but I am just so excited about helping people get through it, because it's such a career boost. If you can get that certification, your earnings as a CPA are going to be exponentially higher than what they would be without it. So it's a amazing certification, has a lot of value, and I really want to see you guys be successful and get through it. So I'm here for absolutely any questions you guys have to get through this. So I really want to see everyone be successful in this. So that being said, good luck to everyone, and I'm looking forward to this semester. All right, thanks.